Hey guys, it's your girl Patience Noah Fuller, and welcome to Entrepreneurship Tea, where we are ditching the tea on entrepreneurship. We are sharing our successes, we're sharing the journey of entrepreneurship and those missed opportunities, because like I always say on here, if you don't manage those missed opportunities, they can become failures, okay? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Entrepreneurship again. My name is Patience Noah, Patience Noah Fuller, your host of Entrepreneurship Tea. Like I always say on this podcast, that we are sharing our journey, the wins, the missed opportunities, and also those moments that people necessarily don't talk about on social media platforms, or you don't get to hear about it. Since I started this podcast, I've been sharing my experiences with you. If you go on any of our platforms, you will hear me talk about my early stages, about how I became an entrepreneur until now. But I've also been talking about the fact that I'm going to bring people on this podcast to share their experiences with you. And today I have a wonderful guest for you guys, for him to share his experiences with you guys. Jonathan has been a supporter from day one. We got connected via LinkedIn. And since then, Jonathan has just been sort of my cheerleader from afar. We've never met in person yet, but Jonathan has been a great, great support system from afar. If he sees any updates or any new thing that I'm doing, he comments on it just to give me that courage to keep pushing. So today I have Jonathan. Is it Lysette?
Yes.
Yeah,
Say.
Lysette. Okay. I have Jonathan Leysath on the podcast today. Jonathan is a seasoned entrepreneur, community developer, and financial strategist with a passion for building purpose driven businesses. As the founder of multiple ventures, including the Community Development Corporation focused on affordable housing, Jonathan brings a unique blend of business acumen and social impact to the table. With a background in commercial banking and years of experience advising nonprofits and startups, he's committed to helping others grow sustainable ventures that make a difference. Jonathan is also the author of Soaring on Purpose, which is a new book that he released, and he's going to be talking to us about it, and serves on several boards, including Voorhees University and the City of Jackson's Housing and Community Development Commission. Wow, what a resume. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, I'm just a
Welcome,
regular person at the end
welcome.
of the day. I'm just a regular person at the end of the day. That's all. But I appreciate you for having me on. It's been an amazing time just seeing how you have matriculated through business from afar. Well, like you said, we've never been in person, but I can tell by your tenacity that you have been. I mean, there are ups and downs in business, but it
Yeah.
takes a special person to stick to it and make sure you see it through. So kudos for all the things that you're doing and all the things that you got going on. And I'm happy to be here to further support. Like I said, I'm your virtual cheerleader, so I'm here to virtually support in any way possible. I'm glad to hear. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like he said, he's my virtual support. If you watch the most recent episode that I put out, I'm talking about support and how you can find support. And support can come from anywhere these days. And Jonathan has been one of those supporters, like I said. So thank you for all your support over the years. So, Jonathan, this awesome resume that you have together, one of the things that I've realized about entrepreneurs, we don't like talking about ourselves. That's what I've realized. We don't like talking about ourselves. So tell me, how was your early days of entrepreneurships? Have you always knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's funny how you say that, and then you ask me to talk about myself. Like, okay, but I'll tell you one thing: entrepreneurs most of the time they don't typically like to talk about themselves. They do like to talk about the things that they do, right?
Yes.
So from an early age, I knew that I was destined for some type of involvement in entrepreneurship. So I would say the first job I had was or my first business that I cracked into was probably when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And I had all these books. Who knows if they was from the library or not? But anyway, I had all these books and I lined them up across my bedroom floor. And my aunts and people, cousins and neighbors and all them would come through the house. Hey, I need you to come take a look at this real quick. I want to show you my books. Now, would you like to buy one? Now, I could have been selling the school books or whatever. Who knows if I would have got in trouble or not? But listen, I was going to get it by any means necessary, right? So
Right.
that was at a young age. And then when I got older, I grew up in the South. So cutting grass was just one of those things that the boys just had to do, right? And so my dad, he kind of instilled it in us to take care of our neighbors. So I would literally push the lawnmower over to my neighbor's yard, start cutting the grass. But then my mom, who was an entrepreneur, she had a daycare for 13 years, started in our home and then got her own facility and all that. And she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you up to the office place and we're gonna get some contracts." So she got these contracts that was I had the carbon copies on the back. So I wrote down the contract. This is how much it's gonna cost for your yard. And then ripped it off, gave them a copy, and I had a copy.
Hmm.
So even from like 12 and 13 years old, I'm like, all right, I got to be in business. I got to be in business because I was under the impression that I needed to make sure I was making money for myself and being able to support myself and not just rely on my parents. It's not that that's not that I had to create a business because I needed the money. I just enjoy doing it, right?
Yeah.
So it started at a super early age that I think most people don't really get. I think they're worried about trying to play and swing from the monkey bars and do flips and be on the trampoline. And I was like, where's the next opportunity to make some money? And so it's
Right.
been at an early age for me, for sure. So,
And I think another thing too that I've realized about entrepreneurs, we think about money from an early age. Our view of money is, okay, what can I do to start making money? And this idea can it can shape you positively, or it can shape you negatively. When I think about those who are selling drugs and doing some things on the streets, I'm like, oh my gosh, like these are just great ideas that you can turn around into something positive. But everyone's choices in life is different, right? But one thing that I've really noticed about entrepreneurs from an early age, at that stage where most of our peers are playing in the mud or playing in the dirt or doing something, we're thinking about, okay, how can I sell this candy bar to make money?
yes.
Or how can I sell this, this shoe to make money? Oh, how can I sell X, Y, and Z to make money? So it really starts from that early stage. And one thing that you said that stood out to me was that your mom was an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
which that's a great exposure because most people who are entrepreneurs don't have that experience or they don't have anyone in their family or any background of that. So it was great for you to see your mom as an entrepreneur, which sort of like shaped you into that mindset. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's great to hear that.
Yeah, my mom definitely, she really kind of reared me in that entrepreneurial mindset of you got to explore, you got to think out the box. I mean, and like the daycare started in our home. So literally I lived within the entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
And I lived within that. Here's another piece that I learned within that business of her having the daycare at home was what's yours is not necessarily yours. I used to
Mm-hmm.
be mad because I'm a little boy and I got to share my toys with people who are coming to my
With
house
all
that
these
were like, wait
neighborhood
a minute,
kids.
this is you have your own toys. These are mine. Like let's put some separation between it, right? And one thing that
Yeah.
we learned in entrepreneurship is though even though we are blessed to have a business, it's not necessarily ours, right? Our business is used to serve other people. So I learned the whole meaning of servitude within just so I learned at an early age. I didn't tell you about this other business that I had. I also had business, but I also was a leader as well very young. So when I was in high school, I decided I was going to sell candy. And so when you start talking about whether you're selling drugs or whatever, listen, it doesn't matter what you sell. You could be an entrepreneur selling shoelaces. It just is
Yeah.
what it is, right? And so I had these candies and I would get the little blow pops and I would sell them for like a quarter. So I would buy them from like Walmart, Sam's, and Bolt, and then I would just sell them. And then I realized that my school was too big just for me to do it. So I would give candy to other people and I would say, all right, I'm gonna sell you this bag of candy for $5. And once whatever you make, you keep. But make sure you stay within my price point. I'm selling it for a quarter. Do not sell it for 15 cents. Like I had people out there selling and then I got in trouble and I had to stop.
Wow.
Yeah. Every time I started something, I had to stop. So I learned from an early age, hey, certain things you can and you can't do. So
Wow. So you were way advanced, like you were ahead of yourself, or ahead of your time at that
yeah,
age.
Absolutely, absolutely. And whatever means possible. Like it's like, okay. And I will say this is probably the first time I learned that you have to follow the rules. So you need to
Mhm.
make sure that you're operationally and strategically sound. So just to go out there and go do something, I love the energy. However, let's get some things in order so to make sure that we're doing it the right way so that we can protect our business from a longevity standpoint. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. So, tell us about how you went about starting your business. I know as an adult, you've had
Mhm.
several businesses that you've started. Like, how did you go about starting those business? Was there a point that you were like, okay, I'm ready to launch, quote unquote, an adult business, right?
Yeah.
I'm ready to launch this. And how did you go about starting that?
Yeah. So I'll give probably the first adult business. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the appropriate term to use. Yeah, adult business. The first one, it was my insurance agency.
Okay.
I was in college and I was trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. I had a business, I was getting a business administration degree with a concentration in finance. And I was like, I want to do something, but I need some type of job stability. So I started looking out the window and I saw all these cars driving by. And I'm like, all these cars have to have car insurance
Yeah.
legally. That's never going to change, right? At least not in the foreseeable future. So I was
Right.
like, insurance agency was what I need. So I started going around looking for an internship and I ended up getting the internship at a nationwide insurance agency. That's when they had brick and mortar locations.
Hmm.
And so he gave me an opportunity. I did the internship for the 8 weeks or whatever it was. Ended up, it was going so well. We lost track of time and I was still working for like an additional 6 weeks for free, basically, right? And so he taught me everything from cleaning up to going out and doing estimates on homes to figure out what the square footage is and make it from everything, right? And all that started from me just having the initiative to go out to see what it is that I want to do. And while I was there, I said, you know what? My career goal is to own my own insurance agency. And about 4 years later, after graduating college, going to go work for an insurance agent, some other things, I had the opportunity to own a nationwide agency. But before then, I said, I want to own my own insurance agency. So I started an independent agency and I
Mm.
had a magnet on my car, Slate Insurance Group, LLC. I had the LLC done. I had insurance. I had the whole errors and emissions. I had everything, right?
Yeah.
And my first insurance policy I sold was at a Shell gas station in Blythewood, South Carolina. I did not write the Shell gas station. I
Right.
was meeting a client at Shell gas station
Wow.
and signing the paper. Like I was just like, by any means necessary, right? I know it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be my goal. I was still working a regular job, 9 to 5, not really making much. I think I made about $30,000 a year, but I was just like determined. And I I felt determined, but then I was like, you know what? This is not really working because I wrote that insurance policy and then the next one I wrote came off of a lead. And I had a chargeback because they never paid the first month payment. And it was
Yep.
just like, all right, this is it. I'm done. Y'all told me insurance agents make tons of money. That's a lie, right? And I got my first chargeback and I'm like, I just saw this money in my account and now it's gone. And it's
Now it's
the like
gone.
I got two policies. I got this one, I got the other one. And the other one that I wrote at the Shell station was for a rental property. And that property caught on fire. So I'm like, okay, this is a sign. Time to give up. Right. So I really felt like giving up. And then I made a call to someone who I work with that I consider to still be like a mentor to me. And I told him, I said, hey, look, I'm getting ready to get this whole insurance game. I'm going to go back home and stay with mama for a little while and figure this whole thing out. And he's like, well, before you do that, call this lady here. And so I called her and that was in March. And by July, I was opening up my nationwide insurance agency that I actually ended up buying a book of business. And thankfully, I had supporters, like you said, right? Early
Mhm.
on, that saw
Mhm.
the value within me, not
Yep.
necessarily in my business, but they saw the value in me and said that, hey, look, whatever you have your mind to do, you can actually achieve it. So because he had that, he saw the value within me, he made a recommendation. And that person that I did the internship with, they did a recommendation for me. And then the person who got my first job out of college with also gets, so I had three glowing recommendations from people that I had worked with in the past to own my own insurance agency by the age of 24. Um, and it was amazing. I mean, it went great. But it took a while. It took a
Yep.
while to get there. But in order for me to get there, it was just a lot of hard work, a lot of struggle, a lot of disappointment, a lot of failures.
Yes.
And as those failures came, it was me almost giving up, but then reaching out to a supporter, to a mentor, and them saying, don't give up yet. Here is an opportunity. So, yeah.
That's great. That's great. And honestly, hearing you speak about your experiences as an agency owner, one thing I tell people is that, especially if you're starting your agency from scratch, it's hard work. It's hard work. It takes a long time. It takes you getting support from everywhere you can to make it work. And it's great that you're speaking to this because hopefully some of my audience members that are family members and things like that, they can see it, hearing it from someone else's, right? So that they can know that exactly what I'm doing now, I'm really laying the foundation that it takes a while for you to get there. And then another thing that you said that really resonated with me is the fact that you sold your policy at a gas station. And honestly, one of the things that I always say is my clients are everywhere. Although everyone may not be my client, some of the privileges that we have with this day and age of us working virtually or us being able to go anywhere to work, all I need is my laptop. I can meet anywhere and sell a policy to them. And then another thing that you said that I was laughing was the fact that the chargeback, right? A lot of
They don't understand. They don't understand. The chargeback is serious.
chargebacks are a thing, and I think I touched on this with one of the videos that I created. For those of you guys who don't know what chargebacks are, if you come and you pay your policy premiums to us, we submit that premium to the insurance company, okay? That premium is not coming to us. We only get a portion of whatever you pay to the insurance company. It could be 10%. Before it used to be 12, 15%.
Right.
But now with the way the economy looking, it's going as low as 7%, 8%, 10% on certain policies. So if you don't pay your policy premium and you cancel midterm, whatever money the insurance company gives us, we have to give a portion of that back, depending on when your policy gets canceled during the term that you purchase. So we now have to pay that money, right? So if you're a new agency, you don't have enough funds and things like that, and you've used this money, right? So now you have this payables on your books that you need to pay back to the insurance company.
That's right.
And that's what breaks a lot of insurance agency owners or insurance agencies and things like that, especially during those early stages. Those chargebacks are a thing, and it could make or break up someone and someone's business. So thanks for sharing that. I hope those who are watching this,
They are
those
real.
who,
Yeah,
those who are
for
watching this,
all the insurance customers, have a little grace for us. Just have a little grace.
right,
Yeah.
right. Have a little grace for us because sometimes folks are like, "Oh my gosh," and I'm like, "Only
Yeah. Yeah. And you hit a point to where the insurance industry is going now. It's because of technology and because of all these other things that they have to pay for now.
yes,
Used to be a time, my agents that, kind of like grown me when I was coming up, they used to tell me about the times when you would actually come into the agent's office and they would go outside, look at your car, and they would determine themselves what the premium would be. Right. And then, so they just look at you. I think you're a good person. You'll pay it on time. You won't cause
right,
any accidents. Just give me $200 a year. Right.
hmm
And then it went to this whole thing of this payment wheel where this is like this little thing that looked
yes,
like
the chart,
calculator and just going out of space and trying to figure out like what time travel looked like. So it was, you had all these things like that help determine what the rate was, but it was still determined within an office.
hmm
And now it is different now. There's technology. So where your agents may used to have gotten 20%, 15% commission, now it's like 7%,
yeah,
5%, right? It's because they don't want to have to pay. And
hmm
so when you do end up getting that charge back, it hurts even more now. So yeah, so have a little grace on your insurance agents too, especially the
well,
independent and the good ones.
yes, yes. Thanks for bringing that up. So you started your agency, you pivoted when you realized that it wasn't working, right? So what was it that made you feel like, okay, this thing is not working, I need to pivot? And then also when you pivoted, did you feel like, okay, I failed myself or I'm a failure because this thing didn't work?
That's a great question. That's a great question. The best way to answer that is to say this. I did have to pivot. And when I say pivot, I'm saying I had to kind of like change direction.
Okay.
Right. So sometimes, I use it in this terminology. You have a pivot or you have a shift. Like, and you're driving the car, you have gears and you have to shift. So a lot of times, in order for you to go faster, you have to shift to a higher degree, right? Higher gear.
Yes.
So that's shifting. So you're staying within the car, staying within the lane, doing all that. You're on the same highway. You're just shifting on faster. When you have to pivot, that means you have to kind of like turn direction a little bit, right?
You're right.
So when I pivoted, I ended up selling my agency back to Nationwide so I could exit back out. I did that after we had already got it to where it needed to be. But the thing that kind of triggered that. So at that time, my family was super young, still kind of young, but super young then. My daughter was in a car seat, like she was like an infant, right? And so anybody that know anything about running a business, regardless of what the business is, if you're going to run a successful business, it's a lot of work in the first 2 years.
Yes.
Meaning that you will have a lot of sleepless nights. You won't be able to, like, it's just going to be crazy. And so when you understand that, you understand what the commitment is. So I'm going into year 3. And because I'm not running an independent business or independent insurance agency, this is not my company. I can't write the rules. If they want to change direction and say, we no longer want great drivers, we want to go with all the risky drivers. Or if they say, we don't want any more risky drivers, we only want the great driver. It doesn't matter what your portfolio looks like. You have to change direction with that company. And that may mean it feels like you're starting all the way over again, right? So our business was doing very well. We got a declining book going right back up to where it needed to be at. We were selling a lot. We were retaining a lot of our customers. So everything was going well. But then we had a shift within the mindset of what the company wanted to do. And I had to decide, am I going to stay here or am I going to pivot into a different direction? Because of me having that entrepreneurial mindset, I already had another business that I was doing. So it wasn't like this was my only business, but I
Gotcha.
understood I needed to spend more time here. So
Yeah.
the thing that made the difference was my wife came up to the office. And when she came up to the office, she brought my son and she brought my daughter. And this was like 9 o'clock at night. So it's pitch black dark. And I just see them knocking at the door. Hey, we just wanted to come in and just check on you. And at that moment, I knew the business is taking over my life. And I said, it's time for me to pivot. So I pivoted. I made the decision mostly for my family, just because I knew that, um, I have great parents. They're still with us today. I have great parents. I told you about my mom. She was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My dad worked in a plant for like 40 years. Started that when he was 16 and he didn't retire. He retired from that same plant from 16 years old until he was like 62. Right. So he was there for 45 plus years. But that meant he would work all the time. So I hardly got to see him. So with me, I wanted it to be different. I was going to
Right.
work hard, but I also wanted to make sure that my kids saw me and I was around and I was just present. Right. And
Yeah.
again, my father is amazing, but he did what he had to do to support his family. But I knew I had options. So with me having options, I knew I wasn't going to allow that to be the option where I don't get time to spend with my kids. So I made the decision to pivot, but I still had something else going. When I pivoted, I was getting ready to graduate on my master's degree in 2 months. I still had another thriving business that was going on that I started. So everything was still going. So at some points, it's like, is this really a failure or is
Yeah.
this a come up?
Right. Right.
That determines how you. Now, a failure would be me losing my business because I did something wrong.
Correct.
Me
Yes.
selling my business so that it still
That's
can
a
exist,
win
my members are taken care of. I get a check. Like that's not a businesses buy and sell all the time. I
all the
think
time.
I think small businesses or solopreneurs always look at selling your business as a negative thing, but selling your business or either closing it down, it just might be the best financial or business decision. And so yeah, I pivoted and I didn't look at it as a failure. It was more of success, and I learned a lot. I wish I would have did some things different,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't, and I wouldn't go back and change that either. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I definitely learned a lot.
That's great. And the reason why I asked that is because I've come across a lot of people that when they discover that the business is not working, they try to hang on to it for too long. That's one. And two, I've actually had friends that we started this entrepreneurship journey together and they've had to close their business. And some of them, they look at it from the perspective of, oh my gosh, like not I'm a failure, but it's like I can't believe, X, Y, and Z is still going and I've had to close my business. And honestly, to me, I don't see anything as a failure. It's just more of a a direction or, a shift or maybe a pause for you to figure out what the next step should be. So it's great that you shared that, selling your business, there was nothing lost, right? Because you ended up receiving the check for it. And then another thing too that's great, and I hope the entrepreneurs who are listening to this can hear it, is as we are growing our business, we need to set it up in a way that when we get to that place where it has outgrown us, or we feel like, okay, this thing is not serving me or serving my family, we can have the liberty to sell it, right? And leave gracefully without thinking like, oh my gosh, like this thing, I can't believe, like I'm about to let my baby go, right? And I'm sure if you saw your business as your baby, you wouldn't have been able to sell it. So yeah.
That's very true. I think the entrepreneurs that view their businesses as like their child, I think when you bring emotions into business, it can be a dangerous thing. It's not to say that you don't have some type of emotion or just human reaction to things, but it can't be your driver
Yeah.
for everything in your business.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed with individuals or entrepreneurs that tend to utilize their emotions, it ends up hurting them simply because instead of them looking at the raw data and looking at what their customers want and what their customers are telling them, they look at what they emotionally want and what they emotionally feel and what the way they would do things. Right. I used to tell people all the time, especially entrepreneurs, when they're looking at trying to create their pricing methods. So they're selling a product. Let's say, for instance, they're selling socks. All right, great. You're selling socks. All right. Well, how much do you want to sell your socks for? I want it to be affordable. Okay, great. I'm gonna sell it $1 a piece. Okay, cool. That's $1 a piece. How much does it cost you to make your sock? It cost me 50 cents. How much does it cost you to market your product? I don't know how much it costs to market it. Okay, well, how much does it cost to package it?
Yeah.
I could probably get 2 or 3 for about 25 cents. I said, "So, okay, so it sounds like you may actually be spending more like $1.50 just for the sock. You're gonna go out of business."
Yeah.
Well, I want to because I know I wouldn't pay more than $1 for it. Okay, it doesn't matter what you think you would pay for it.
Right.
You have to
Right.
determine what's the price that you could sell this for. Now, if you feel like in order for you to make a profit, you need to sell it for $5, you need to find a client that will actually pay $5 for it, right?
Yes.
Not, and that client may not be the person that looks like you. And
Right.
you don't go after somebody who looks, many people treat our businesses like we treat our friends. I want my clients to be like my
For your
friends.
friends.
Your
Yep.
clients are not always your friends. At some point, you have to get to the point to where my product is going to sell with the person that connects with the product, even if that person doesn't connect with me. And if that doesn't, then that means I need to learn. One of the biggest lessons I learned was from a mentor of mine, and he owned an Allstate agency. And Allstate at the time was doing like the Daytona 500, the the Darlington race and all that, and they would have 100,000 people out there to race. And he was like, "I don't know nothing about racing. I don't like racing. Never thought about it. Don't sit down and watch it. Nothing like that." And then he got a call, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to come out here and vendor out here." He was like, "I don't like racing." He's like, "There's gonna be like 100,000 people." He said he put on his NASCAR hat and he walked right out there. Listen, you don't have to like it, but
Yeah.
if that's where your customers are, you have to go where they are, right? So one of the deepest lessons that I learned was you go where your customers are. Even if that means you don't like it, that means you need to learn a little bit, learn enough about it so that you can reach them, right? And so then also you have a product for them, right? So you definitely got to make sure that you are following your customer, follow your customer, learn from your customer what they want, what makes them tick, and also how well their pockets are. When you understand what their pockets are, all right, great. Now I know where I got the, all right, I can get $15. I can get $20 for that pair. There literally are socks out here selling for like $20 a piece. Like you don't limit yourself just because you wouldn't pay for it. What would your customer pay for it? Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's a great piece of advice. And I think I used to make that same mistake when I started, especially in our industry. I was one of those people that when I started, even though I had an extensive background in insurance, I wanted my customer base to sort of look like me. So I was like limiting this pool of who my customers should be. And like you said, your customers may necessarily not look like you. They may not be your family members. And for the longest, I think my business suffered because of that mindset. And The moment I got out of that, it sort of allowed me to go into rooms that I would be uncomfortable going into. Like you said, like that guy, racing wasn't his thing. He was bored, or he's not interested in it. I was the same way. Like I'm like golfing. Oh my gosh, that thing is so boring, right? It's like, but guess what? Most insurance agency owners, especially those who are at the high level, that is something that they tell us all the time. Even if you don't know how to golf, like just make sure that you're on the field, because you don't know who
That's
you're
right.
going to have a conversation with. Find out where your customer base are. Find out where they're hanging out, and hang out in those places, because that's where you are going to build your clientele. That's where, the type of money that you want to make, right? That those are the people. Find out where they hang out. And then also don't be afraid of setting your price. I know in our industry, we don't necessarily set the price, but at the end of the day, people do business with people that they like, right? So you're sort of selling yourself and the value that you bring to yourself in how you package yourself and how you package your brand is what's going to allow clients to come to you, or the type of clients that you want to come to you. So it's great that you touched on that, and I hope those who are watching can learn from that, right? Because a lot of people, sometimes we want our client base to just be in, unless you don't have like that extensive growth mindset, right? Then you can say, okay, I just want my clients to be in this particular like demographics or geography. But I think if you have this, okay, I want to grow long term or whatever it is, your clients don't have to look like you, and you have to go and find them. They may necessarily be hanging out at the places that you don't like to be. Right? Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of people talk about as an entrepreneur is this sense of feeling lonely. This entrepreneurship journey is a lonely thing, right? And one of the things that I've realized, yes, in the beginning, definitely, right? And I've actually talked about this in some of the videos, and I think you alluded to this, but I want you to touch on it a little bit. Did you feel that sense of, okay, I'm in this thing alone? Or were you like, no, like I have all these resources and I'm going to utilize them?
Yeah. So they have this thing that they say it gets lonely at the top.
Yeah.
When you're at the top and you're the only one, it can definitely get lonely, right? And especially when you are in a family where you don't have a lot of entrepreneurs that are in your family, it's like you're the only one. It can definitely affect you, just because the way you think is different than an employee. You do not think the same way. When you think about a customer and a problem that they are having, you think of it different. You just can't go to sleep at night, right? And just think nothing about it. You're trying to figure out, how can I solve the problem, right? Or you can't. You're trying to figure out, all right, what's my next business move? Because you can't sleep at night trying to figure out, all right, do I need to, what color paper do I order next time, right? Because this is getting crazy. Staples is doing too much, so maybe our Office Max will help, or maybe I just go to Amazon. Like, you're always thinking, and a lot of times because of the way you have to think, it feels like no one gets you, because no one else can relate to the way that you are. Some of you probably, just for the listeners, if you're listening and you're like, I'm an entrepreneur and I feel like I'm lonely, you probably have felt that way because when you go to talk to your friends, they can't relate.
Yeah.
They can't relate to, why are you still thinking about work?
Yeah.
Can't you just take a vacation?
Yeah.
Can't you just take a day off? Or can't you just, like, no, you may get PTO. Like,
Yeah.
PTO don't count for entrepreneur, even on vacation. Right?
It's
Yeah.
a privilege that they have that they don't.
Listen. Now, I'll put it this way. So I kind of get the best of both worlds, because right now I still have a full-time job where I'm in commercial banking.
Yeah.
But I also still, even if I do take PTO from there, there's something else that I'm involved in that won't allow me to have PTO. Right? So it's just like, because that's just me, that's the person itself.
Right.
So it gets lonely out there because sometimes it feels like no one can relate. Right. And so what I would tell anyone to do is to find, you don't have to find business owners that are in the same field as you. One of my good friends, he actually had a business like literally walking distance from me, from my insurance agency. He detailed cars. Some people would think it's simple. He just washed cars. Like, no, he details cars. He is the best I have ever seen. Like he will make a car look brand new. I've seen him do some amazing work to some vehicles. And since he has started, he has had to, we started around the same time. He still has his business today. He's gone from zero to making tons of money to being brought back down because of a situation, then making the money right back. He has 2 locations. He has a mobile business. He has commercial contracts. He is doing amazing things. And I salute him every time I get an opportunity to, and patronize him when I can. But he's amazing. But he doesn't sell insurance.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
details cars.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets it. So
Yeah.
I can talk with him because he's trying to figure out what's the next marketing strategy, right? So when you feel like you're alone, you don't necessarily have to go to somebody that's in the same industry. If you're talking, as I've had conversations with people who run restaurants, who own restaurants, and they talk about, I can't find any good workers. I
Yeah.
can't find anybody that want to, like, we have the same story. We just sell a
Yeah.
different product, right? We sell a different product or service, but we have the same stories. We have the same feelings. So find your tribe, right? And that tribe may not be another insurance agent. It may not be another candle maker. It may not be another restaurateur. It may be somebody totally different, but find your tribe. And when you find that tribe, like, connect with them, right? And be intentional about how you communicate with them, right? So sometimes I have learned this word intentionality, which is like my book kind of like goes off of being intentional. And that word has been really sitting on me lately just because I need to be more intentional about my relationships with my friends, with my loved ones, with my business, with my day to day life, like everything, because you just can't leave things to where if it happens, it happens. Because most of the time when you say that, it never happens. Right. So you have to be intentional about everything. You have to make smart choices. You have to make the choice to show up. If you do not, then it's not going to happen. So be intentional about picking out who you're going to communicate with. When you communicate with them, when you use them as associates, as colleagues, as whatever, make sure you're intentional about it. Don't just wait for them to do something for you. Do something for them. Don't wait for them to support you. Support them, right? That's one of the reasons why, you know, I support you and what you do is simply because I sat there before and I need to be intentional about making sure that you see another entrepreneur that you can relate to that's like, hey, whatever you need, I got you. And just be intentional about it, right? So again, be intentional because it does get lonely at the top. But if you find people, they don't have to sell what you sell, whether it be service or product. But if they are an entrepreneur, in some ways, you are very much alike. So
Well, you know what? I feel like everything you're saying is reaffirming what I've already been sharing with my audience, anyways.
good. Good, good,
So,
good. Hey,
guys,
listen,
you
one
are
thing about it, you're
hearing,
not really going to hear something different. You're going to hear the same thing, just in a different
yeah,
way.
you guys are hearing it from someone else other than just me just spewing out things to you guys. And everything he said, you guys just go and listen to that support episode that I created a few weeks ago. That is exactly the advice that I gave to people, finding who their tribe, and the person necessarily does not have to be in the same industry as them. So that brings me to the next question, which is, I know one of the things that you do is help startups, right? Many startups
Yes.
and things like that. What have you find is one of those things that prevent people from either growing their business or actually getting to that point where they're like, okay, I'm going to hit the trigger and I'm going to start?
Ooh, that's easy. And y'all probably gonna be like, no, that ain't right. It's something else. Money.
Money.
Money is typically the number one cause, is the reason why people delay the start of their business. Because I had someone, because I told you that I'm in commercial banking. So I had someone reach out to me recently and they were like, hey, I'm trying to get some money so I could buy into this business. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, what is it? Well, here's a business plan. I'm looking at the business plan. I'm like, it doesn't look like you wrote this, but I'll read it. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, this doesn't sound like you, for one, based off on a phone conversation. So at least make it relate to you. And then it was if I don't get this money, then I won't be able to start. And I'm like, okay. So most people it's kind of like one of those things that separate the real entrepreneurs from the ones that just like the image of being an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Because if you just like the image, then you're waiting for somebody to cut the check and be responsible for something that you're not ready to be responsible for yourself. Because if you're only waiting for the money, because again, we're talking about this person was looking at a very simple industry where they didn't need any money to really get started. They could have got started with $100. Take $100 and go out there and go make it happen. Just think about it. Let's say you wanted to be a painter and you were doing very good and you were doing great. You've been painting for 15 years for three other people, and you learned how to get this thing done. All right, great. In order for you to paint, come to my house and paint, my house. How much is it going to cost you? Probably nothing. But why? Because you're going to charge me for the material. So why are you waiting for someone to give you $100,000 to start your painting company? If you really want to start it, you can start it. I said earlier, I started my insurance agency and I sold my first policy outside of a Shell gas station. Literally, I got a magnet off of Vistaprint for like $49 that went on both sides. Like
Wow.
literally, it's a lot of people, they think money is, I gotta have that or I won't be able to start my business. Like, don't think big, start small. I have a cousin that started his business from a food cart that him and his dad built in the backyard. Like literally they built it. And then from there, he went all the way on to where he became viral and now he's a food reviewer. Like so it can happen, but you can't say money stops a lot of people. And what I realized is that if you allow money to stop you from doing it, money is only an added benefit to what you get that'll take you a little further, but it shouldn't stop you from starting.
Money shouldn't stop you from starting. You heard it from him, and he's helped tons of businesses get started. And I hear this all the time from people. So there's two things that you say I want to address. People look for money to get started, but then also people are looking for this money. One of the things that people don't understand about business is that if you are going to go take someone else's money, you need to show a track record of how you intend to pay off that money. And sometimes you can put all these nice plans together, but it may necessarily not work the way that you intend that it's going to work. So you need to have some sort of strategy in place. The plan that you're putting in place needs to come from you, because if something happens, you need to know that this plan came from me so I can pivot. Some of you guys are going to ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT can summarize your business plan together, but you need to have the ultimate plan, right? Or you're
That's
paying
right.
somebody else to put a business plan together and things like that. And you guys have no knowledge of what really goes into your plan. This is your plan. You're the one who's running this business. You need to put a plan together so that if something goes wrong, you know how to pay people's money back. But you can't say that money is the number one thing that I don't want to start. And honestly, because of where I sit now, when I'm hearing those who are starting the business and they come to me, they're like, I'm looking to get this policy. And then depending on the industry that they're going in, I'm like, did you know that this is going to cost you at least $1,000 and some change a month? How do you intend getting revenue to pay for everything else in addition to this insurance premium to make sure that your business function, right? So these are all the things that people don't think about when it comes to putting their business plans together, the expense part of it, and then making sure that make enough revenue
That's
to
it.
pay all your expenses, and everything else that pertains to you is really, really important. So I'm very glad that you touched on that.
Yeah, and I'll say to take it a step further, because some people they'll hear, well, you gotta have money. She just talked about making sure that you can pay your insurance and paying this and paying that. That's very true. It is. But the driver, what is the driver in your business? Because it could be easy for you to go out and get a loan for $20,000, pay your insurance up for the year, doing all that. But what's your motivator? What's your driver? Because next year you're going to have that same payment due again.
Yeah.
So what's stopping you from not to go do it?
And
I'm gonna
30
get,
days is not that long. People think that 30 days are long. No,
listen,
30 days goes by
it's
like
just
that.
like that. So, okay, so what are you doing within that 30 days? Which
Yeah.
is why I talked about, all right, if people say money, because I need the money, and they spend most of their time trying to find the money than they do actually making the money. Like, go out and go, like, you can do, and even if you find other ways, there are so many, if people understood how many entrepreneurs are really in this world today, with Uber Eats, Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, Amazon, because Amazon Flex is a real thing and you can work for yourself. There are so many entrepreneurs that are out here getting it. And literally, you can go out here right now today, start driving and start making money right away that can help fund what you need. So again, don't allow money. You can find ways. So what's going to be your motivator when things get slow? Are you going to shut down the business because you didn't have any money, or are you going to go out there and go find the money so that you can help support your business? So I've seen a lot of startups that's just like, we did well, but we ran out of money. Instead of, hey, our projections show us that we're going to run out of money in 2 months. We need to switch up gears. We need to shift. Let's figure out a way to make this thing happen. If we don't, this is going to be it. So yeah, you're right. You're right.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So you started from an early stage where you started your insurance agency, you pivoted to banking, and now you're helping entrepreneurs. What have you learned or how have you grown over these years as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, grown.
Or
Man,
you're still
grown is
becoming?
listen. Grown is a interesting word because yes, I have grown
Okay.
from a business perspective. But I think the biggest thing I have learned is I have grown from two phases: from a customer relations perspective and from a business perspective. From a customer relations perspective, I'm always thinking, all right, what can I do best for my members, for my customers, right? And what I can do best for my clients, then that means I've done what I told them I was going to do, and I am earning everything that I am supposed to be getting back, right? Whether it's in payment, commission, whatever it is, I've earned that now because I fulfill what I said I was going to fulfill, and actually gone over the top. And they can rely on me for whatever it is that I sold them. From a business perspective, I also understand in order for me to stay alive in my business, I got to make sure certain things are in place. Risk management is important, right? I just can't have insurance. I got to make sure certain things in my business are put in place to protect me from having to ever use my insurance.
Yep.
Right. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at, all right, strategy, my marketing. I'm looking at my communications. I'm looking at all those things that typically people just skim over. I have grown to the point to where literally, yes, I am just go get it, just by
Yeah.
any means necessary, right? But I've also learned to be very strategic about what it is that I'm going to be doing and make sure that I am looking at 2 months down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, which before I was just looking at what am I going to have by the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? So now by the end of the day has alternated now to the end of the year, where do I expect to be? And then also me looking at, all right, here's how we perform. Here's how we get better, right? And all that from a customer relation standpoint, as well as from a business standpoint, to make sure things are where they need to be at. So I've grown because literally I've been at that phase where it's just, I got this great idea. And from a visionary standpoint, this is what I would like to do. To now, I am not just visionary, but I'm more so of a strategist. I'm more so of a leader to be able to determine, all right, how do we get to where the vision is, right? Because, and the truth be told, a vision without a goal is just a dream, right?
Yep.
And so many people are just dreaming right now, right? But when you shift that vision and put it in with goals, with specific goals, with smart goals, right? Now that becomes to be more like reality, right? Where you can now achieve those things. But most people, when you're starting out in business, you gotta make sure that you are very intentional about everything that you do. And as you are doing that, be intentional about your customers, your business strategy, your income, your insurance, your risk management, all those tools that you need in order to be successful. Be intentional about all of them. And you will see your growth go from infant all the way to, I almost feel like you never become an adult. Like you just, like right now, I'm like at that like preteen stage. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if I ever, because the thing is things change. So like technology, the way it is now was different 5 years ago. All right. Now, I'm not gonna say it was, man, 50 years ago technology was different. It was, but it was also different 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. ChatGPT wasn't a thing. Now it's come and take over everything. Right. So AI is taking over everything. And people are like, you know, overseas, they took over all of our jobs in America, right? Now they're saying technology took all of our jobs, and now they're saying AI took over all our jobs. That's
Something or someone will always get blamed.
something or someone will always get blamed, right? But that's just because we are always evolving, always creating new things. So it's going to be hard to be a grown up when it comes to your business. All you could do is learn to continue to pivoting or shifting, whichever one aligns best.
That's great. And I feel the same way too. Like this year, one of the things that I'm just super proud of myself when it comes to, I put a strategic plan together for my business, and I put a 5-year plan together I broke it down. I was like, okay, if I'm going to operate on, okay, this is the level of revenue I need to be making by the end of the year. This is how much I need to be making by month. This is how much I need to be making by a week. These are the amount of people I need to be connecting with on a monthly basis, or these are the amount of calls we need to be making on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. These are the level of appointments or the amount of small businesses I need to be talking to, right? So honestly, when I sat down and I put that plan together, and thanks to the help of my, my support group, my Black in Business sisters, we all just sat down and we all went through each other's plans. And it's been a great growth for me because I remember when I first started, my business plan was one page. It was just a one pager, and now it's evolved where, so many components are a part of it. And I know I don't have to do everything all within 1 year. But what I'm most proud of is every quarter I choose something that I want to focus on for that quarter. And that means that is going to have my number one attention, right? Not neglecting the rest, but that's going to be my focus to make sure I refine that process or I refine that area to make sure it's running off on its own and things like that. So, like you said, growth, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a one-time thing. You have that infancy stage, and then you get to sort of like that toddler stage. And then you sort of get to like, that stage where you're on the playground and things like that. And then you get to that teenage stage, but you're constantly evolving, you're constantly growing if you have that mindset to learn now, because not everybody has that mindset. So that's great that you touched on that. So now let's talk to our fellow entrepreneurs, friends, brothers, sisters out there that are in on this journey and might be feeling overwhelmed right now, feel like, you know what, I can't make it, this thing is not for me, or they're struggling and they feel like there's no rope being thrown to them. What advice do you have to give?
My advice is going to be a little unorthodox
Okay.
because most people are expecting to hear, don't give up, just
Yeah.
stay in there. Just like most people that you typically hear that, right?
Yeah.
But my comment is going to be more so be a businessman or be a businesswoman. Learn to pivot and learn to shift.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's time to give up, but I'm also not saying it's time to stay in there either. Put your business hat on, right? Take all the things that you learned and evaluate your business.
Yeah.
And see, is this the best thing for your business? And is it the best thing for you? In life, sometimes we are choosing to plant. Sometimes we are choosing um, to cultivate.
Yep.
And sometimes we're choosing to harvest. Sometimes we're not given a business to do all three. Sometimes we're given a business to only plant it and let somebody else come in and really cultivate it and grow it like the way it needs to be at. But here's the thing I've learned is when you are out of place, you are also holding the other people that are relying on you from excelling as well. If I'm only good at planting the seed, I'm only good at planting. I know how to cover it up. I know how to get the water. I know how to pack it in the way it is, but I am horrible at growing it. I can't allow my ego to allow the fruit not to come so others can eat. So it's time for me to understand where am I best at? Here's what I'm doing. I'm struggling because I don't have, so maybe that might mean I need to get out, or that might mean I'm still good at planting the seed. I need to find a partner who is good with growing. I need to find someone who can, all right, great. Now we got stuff happening. All right, good. Now we got to find out a way how to get the vegetables, the fruit, all these things that we grew to our people. Neither one of us are good at it. So maybe it's
Yeah.
time to now shift again and find somebody who can distribute, right? So don't look at it as I did my best and now I got to give up.
Right.
Use your business hat, right? Look at it from here's what I need to look at from a business perspective. Find out where it is that you need to be. Is it time to pivot? Is it time to shift? Is it time to just forget about this whole thing because this is just a dying business because we are advancing way too far beyond what I can think? But don't make a decision just saying, I just need to. And again, that comes from being in the right circles.
Yep.
It's lonely at the top, but do not decide to leave the top to go to the bottom for advice.
Mm.
Because a lot of times we would go down and ask for advice from people who have never owned a business,
Right.
do not own a business, and look for their support. Now they give you support based off of what they feel. My baby can do anything,
Yeah.
but mama ain't never had a business Ain't never had anything. Like, no, we love mama. We love auntie. We love grandma. Grandma believes that her baby can do anything that she put her mind to. That's great. But seek good counsel, right? Don't just seek somebody that's just going to give you a yes. And center yourself around people that are going to be, again, not just yes people, but people that are going to be thought thinkers. They're going to let's think about it, right? So show me where your numbers at. I have some people around me, like literally, if I have a hit a wall, I can call, and the first thing they're not going to say is, "Well, just keep trying." They're not going to say that. They're like, "So, what your numbers look like?"
Yeah.
All right. So, how much does it cost? How much does it cost for your marketing? How much does it cost for this? All right. Maybe we need to retweak some things. Can we retweak it? Do we have the tools necessary to move forward? If not, then we need to do this. My answer is unorthodox. It's not going to be that just keep trying. No, I'm not going to tell you today. If you're thinking about giving up and you're struggling, I will tell you to take a moment. And one thing I used to do, and I have my insurance agency, and I even still do this practice today, is I never just make a harsh decision right away. I always, when I lived in South Carolina, I would go to Charleston and I would stay there for like the weekend. And it would be no distractions, no anything, just to clear my head, to make sure I was not making my decisions off of emotions. So whether I was looking at buying a new product that was going to change everything, or whether I was looking at, am I going to have to hire new people? And even when I decided to pivot outside of the agency and sell it, I took time to make sure I wasn't making that decision purely off of, I'm seeing my daughter being brought to me at 9 o'clock at night because I'm not home. Yeah, that pulled me. That's enough to, but then great. Now let me go get a clear mind and let's see, can I fix the situation and keep the business? If I can't fix it, then what needs to happen? So again, if you're struggling and you're still trying to figure out a way, don't just quit and don't just keep going either. Take a moment to step back, get a clear mind, clear head, away from the emotions of it, away from all the things that would pull you back in or either pull you back out, and look at it from like someone who's a business instructor and just say, all right, am I following my business plan? Whether it is 1 page or 1,000, am I
Yeah.
following it? What does my marketing plan tell me I should be at in year 3, month 12? Am I in the right place? Because I said I was going to do this. Did I do it? Why not? Why I didn't hit my numbers? Like, look at it from it. We're all in business. So look at it from that perspective. If you're not going to do that, and you're only going to think about your emotions, the next businesses will be the same way. You will have the same result every time because you, again, think of it as a business owner, not as a candle maker,
Yeah.
right? Not as
Yeah.
an insurance agent, not as someone who sells, books. Look
Right.
at it from a business mind and say, is this the right business move for me to do? And sometimes that means taking a step back, taking a step out of whatever you're doing to make the right decision.
That's great. That's great advice. So then let's talk to our entrepreneurs that want to start. These are people that are like, you know what, I'm not sure if this thing's for me. Should I do it? Should I not do it? But some of them do have the passion, they do have great ideas, but there's this fear, right, of coming into it and starting and things like that. What would you say to them?
So for you all that got the fear bug is hitting hard, and you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out. I'll be scared me sometime. I don't want nothing to do with that. I'm gonna go clock in at this job and let that be it, right?
Yeah.
For all of those of you that have the fear, think of from this. Anyone who's done anything that's impactful has had to climb over some level of fear. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you do it. If you are doing anything that is meaningful, it will come with certain trials. It won't be easy. It won't be light. If it's super easy, you should question whether you should be in that moment. Maybe it's time to now change and shift into something else, right? Because maybe that was just a little bit too easy for you. So that fear is going to be there, right? That fear is that thing that lets you know that you are right where you're supposed to be, right? Think about some of the great sports folks. Michael Jordan is one that they claim to be the GOAT. They claim LeBron James is the GOAT, all that kind of stuff. I won't go into the battle of who is who. I'll just say they got different ones. But I'll talk about Michael Jordan for a moment. Michael Jordan had extreme confidence. He was just
Mm.
one that just like believed that he could do whatever he wanted to do on the court. And it wasn't that he didn't have others that were going to beat him up. When he played Detroit, they were called the Bad Boy Pistons because they were literally going to rough him up every time they played him. There was fights happening all over the place. So I can imagine there was some level of fear. But even within that fear, he knew he had to get out and play the game. Still had to perform. He still had to do. There's going to be fear. You're going to be fearful. Like, I really want to do it. I believe I can do this. But I will tell you, if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be able to manage fear well. And that means you have to be able to persevere even when you are scared, even when you are, I don't know. And the truth is, if your dreams ain't big enough, if ain't scaring you, they ain't big enough. If they are not scaring you, they are not big enough. And when I had my dream of opening up my insurance agency, I wanted to own it. I was like, great. I did it by 24. And then I had to have a conversation with like, my dreams wasn't big enough. If I were able to achieve it that quick, that easy, there got to be something greater for me.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to keep going because I achieved that. I conquered that. I did that. Now what? Now what's the next thing? Right. And so don't just settle for what's easy. And because you have a fear of doing what you're called to do. Like, no, go after what you're called to do. If you're called to do it and you're meant to do it, that means somebody is waiting on you to do it. Somebody is waiting on you to get out there, have that business, offer that service, offer that product, whatever it is, they're waiting on you and they can't move until that is out there. And so you have a great responsibility. But whenever you have that fear, don't worry, you'll have some grace to be able to handle it. Yeah, for sure. Like don't stress about it too bad. You'll get through it, but don't allow fear to stop you because if that fear is only there because you're meant to do great things.
That is great advice. That's great advice. Sometimes I always wonder that all these deficits that we have in this world, imagine if everybody would have gotten over the fear of what if and actually accomplished what they were meant to accomplish on this earth. We wouldn't have a lot of these gaps that we have in this world and things like that. So fear, don't be afraid, like Jonathan said. Whatever your dreams are, go for it. And the rest will fall into place as you go along. So now we are winding down. I know you have a book coming out, and the book is called Soaring on Purpose. So tell us
Yes.
about Soaring on Purpose.
Woo. Listen. So Soaring on Purpose, I got my book right here. I tried to make sure I had it close by. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, y'all see it.
Soaring on Purpose.
Sowing on Purpose, a devotional for intentional living. So for the longest, I had been hearing this word intentional. So almost every conversation I would have of purpose, it would end up having the word intentional in it in some way, right? I would be hearing it on the radio, singing in movies, like whatever. It was just like intentional. So like for like the last 5 years or so. And so last year, I was like, I really need to get this out. I want to put some plans in it. I took my iPhone and started putting little notes in it to make sure I did it. And it just, I don't know, I just was like, I got to do it. Then I found an independent publisher, Raz to Write, and she was amazing. And she was like, let's do it. And so I invested in doing it. And I was like, let's get this thing going. And so then she held me to dates. All right, have you gotten this chapter done? Gotten that chapter done? Gotten that done? I'm like, all right, I got to get to it. It was kind of like that fear of
Hmm.
saying, I'm not a writer, right?
Yeah,
That's not who I am. This is like my first book. Like, that's not, somebody else need to do this, right? Like,
yeah.
but I knew that it was purposeful for me because of what I had in me to come out. So, a little bit about the book, it really just focuses on intentionality, like making the choice to do things, right? Some of the things that are in it is talking about being intentional with your family, being intentional with your loved ones, not just saying, I love you, but never showing up, right? But making the effort to actually show up. Making the effort to make sure that you are intentional in your business, intentional with your walk within your faith. Like not just saying if it happens, it happens. And that's one of the chapters of books. Like if it happens, that no. It's not. Now that's not to say that you are in complete control of it. Is what it is saying is that because of my approach within it, I expect something out of it, right? You never get a garden in the back of my I won't get a garden in the back of my yard unless I'm intentional about planting seed. It's just not gonna happen. I can't go in there and just like I'm gonna get a couple bananas real quick out the backyard. Was I intentional about planting banana trees? I
And then
wasn't. So I can't expect to have right. So again, your intentionality, it is purposeful, it is needed within our life. And if you are really going to serve or soar on purpose, it is literally saying, I am doing what I need to do to make sure I am intentional with every step. So it is a devotional. It covers over 40 days, and it's in 8 parts. So I turned 40 this year in March.
Ah,
So it was kind of like one of those things I wanted to have something with like 40 in it. So yeah, these lyrics ain't like what they used to be. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what the
that's
book is
great.
called, Soaring on Purpose.
Okay,
And one of the things that it says in it is when you are intentional about placing your treasure in spaces of growth, harvest is what you reap. That's it.
that is awesome. That's awesome. And where can we find this book?
So you can find it on Amazon. You can
Okay.
also find it on Barnes and Noble. And you can also find it on my website, which is lifechangingcenter.com/ soaring on purpose. And you can buy it there. If you buy it on the website, I sign it and then I send it out to you. If you buy it on Amazon, I can't go to the factory and sign it there. So
Yeah.
it'll just come there in like 2 days. But yeah, anything that you buy through the website, I'll make sure it gets signed and it gets sent out to you. But please support it. Buy it for your family. Buy it for your friends. I believe in this. I really was really toying around and trying to figure out what I could do not to do it. And then it was just like, no, you have to do this. And it's a simple read. I mean, literally, when I tell you it's a simple read, it literally each devotion is maybe a page and a half.
Mm,
And it comes with a scripture, a devotion, and a prayer at the end. So a page and a half, maybe 2 pages a day. So you're talking about 40 days. Just read it once a day. You could do it right when you get up. You could do it right when you go to sleep, however you want to do it. Super easy read. You can get it for your teenagers that's getting ready to graduate high school, or even the ones that are in school right now. It's easy to where they can read it themselves as well. So
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. So we're gonna have the links for those of you who might be interested. We'll have the links to all those platforms that he mentioned in the bio so that you guys can order it if you do need to give it out as a gift. All right, Jonathan. So if folks want to follow you, where can they find you? Where can we find
Yeah, so they can follow me on LinkedIn, especially when you're talking about business. Follow me on LinkedIn, right? You'll get to see a lot of the things that I'm doing within the community, and a lot of the things that I do in business, especially if you are anywhere near North Florida, so the Jacksonville area of Florida. Please reach out, especially if you have any type of banking needs. I help small business owners and their banking needs all day, every day. That is what I do. And also, if you're looking to get into affordable housing, reach out to me. So yes, LinkedIn, Jonathan Leysath, JonathanLeysath. I'm also on Instagram, which is John Leysath. So it's JON and then my last name LEYSATH. So follow me on either Instagram or either on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Instagram, you're gonna see a little bit more fun things. Here's the
Yeah,
life. Here's what we
more
got going
family
on.
related stuff.
Yeah,
I
more
follow
family
you on
related, all that
Instagram.
good stuff. Right, right, right. But if you want to get down to business, yeah,
Yeah.
come holler at me there. Come
You
holler
know,
at me on LinkedIn. Yeah,
I'm one of those social media people that even though I'm on social media, I don't really I'm in and out of social media. So sometimes before I see someone's post, it's like days later
it's
or like
going
months.
right. Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. Like literally, I'm trying to be more active on Instagram now and more active on LinkedIn. I used to be very active on LinkedIn, but I'm trying to be more active now because one of the other things that I'm realizing is if people don't know it happened,
Yeah.
it never happened.
It never happened. Yep.
Like you can't be like, well, I did such and such, but they didn't know it happened. So that means it never happened. In their world, it never happened. There's a lot of people doing great and amazing things. They just don't
Yep.
share it. Right.
Yeah.
And I realized that in order for me to be a motivator to somebody else, they need to see that something is possible. Right. They need to see that I can have a good life, I can have a good time, but also be very successful within business too as well. So you got to give them a little something.
A little
Yeah.
something. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to have a
Yep.
conversation with my audience. It's been great. And again, thank you for all your support and thank you for
Absolutely.
all your great advice. I'm sure my audience are going to take so much from this. I'm sure as this podcast grow, we go from season to season. I'll try to have you on at least every season so that because I feel like you have so much to render to the audience and there's just a lot of wealth of knowledge that you come with. Thank you
I
again.
appreciate that.
Thank you for being on Entrepreneurship Tea. And to all of you watching, I hope you learned from Jonathan's advice, from his stories, and from his journey so that you too can become the successful entrepreneur that you are looking to be in the future. Thank you and have a great day.